YouTube with our meeting. So welcome. Today is Tuesday, September 28th, 2021. I'm glad to have you all here. Welcome to the Freedom Riderz Wealth Building and Book Club Reading or Book Reading Club. Like I said, glad to have you all here today in the building. And we had a great discussion, great reading this past Sunday. We talked a lot about a lot of things. A lot of things are basically coming to the light. We're putting putting two and two together. And I think we're coming along quite well. So I believe we ended on chapter 19 of the book. So we're going to pick up on chapter 20. And I am going to go ahead and start reading. Before I do, did anyone have any questions, any concerns, need any assistance? I wanted to make sure that you guys were able to understand that video with the template for the change of address form that I put into the group. Did anyone have any questions in regards to that? I did put some notes in there about maybe 30 minutes ago that will assist you along with that video and getting an inner and understanding a little bit more about what it is that you can do to help stop receiving bills for your utility services, so that we can concentrate more on studying these laws and studying these commercial laws and things of that nature, and don't have to necessarily be stressed out about bills. So that was the gentleman's name that I put in the video, the name of the gentleman of the video that I put in the chat. His name is Noble Bruce L. or Noble L. Bruce, should I say, is his name. And very, very, very intelligent man, and just very, very determined to not only free himself, but he's, showing everybody his progress and how he's come along. And as he makes mistakes, he's making sure he's providing the information to get those mistakes rectified and redo things. So he's really showing that there's really no reason to be afraid of doing these things. If you do them the right way, you can always correct yourself. So we just got to get over the fear and just continue to educate ourselves. Let me see. Did anyone have anything they wanted to say or any questions? All right. So with that,
I just like to say that it is thank you for posting the information. Mm-hmm. It is so it is just awesome to have all this information to help us at this time.
Indeed.
Because we're in an emergency situation as we speak, and we need to do those things that we need to do.
Yes, ma'am.
The more information we have at our lab, the better.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mother. So I'm going to go ahead and get started reading. I'm not going to hold you all long this evening. We'll probably read to about 15 after, if that's okay with you all. And we'll go from there. So with that being said, chapter 20 of Hardcore Redemption-in-Law, Commercial Freedom and Release by David E. Robinson. Chapter 20 is American Bar Association Control. It says, neither law nor elected representatives govern America. Our nation is controlled and manipulated by a committee of lawyers, the American Bar Association, the infamous bar who care not about us, but about themselves and their wealth. In September 1995, for the first time in American history, the inflow of tax revenues was less than our government had to pay on just the interest it owes to the non-federal Federal Reserve on the national debt. In other words, our federal government can't even pay the interest on the loans they've promised to pay to mostly foreign entities. The crafty powers that control this great land behind the scenes are about to choke us into submission. The United States court declared bankruptcy in 1933. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, author of American Socialism, declared bankruptcy in Executive Orders 6073, 6102, 6111, and 6260. At the same time, all gold and silver was taken away from we, the people of America. This was done pursuant to the trading with the enemy of October 6, 1917, when our entire nation was placed under an economic emergency. This emergency was never rescinded and we are still subject to the same emergency declaration today. In order to bail out our insolvent federal government, the several incorporated states of the Union pledged the faith and credit of we, the people, to the national government. This is how we ended up with the Social Security Administration. Let me see. We might have read this, guys. Let me make sure. I think we read chapter 20. Maybe not. I'm going to continue reading. Social Security Administration and the Council of State Governors, among many other socialistic entities. On January 22nd, 1937, these organizations published their Declaration of Interdependence in the Book of States, where they openly declared that all farmers, landowners were no more than feudal tenants. Page 155, 1937 edition. This was and is the method used to literally steal private property from we the people in order to unconstitutionally benefit others without just compensation. Today, a homeowner doesn't receive a lawful deed or a title to his land. Instead, he receives a warranty deed whereby the state holds the actual title and deeds as collateral for the national government's debt, the corporate body known as the United States, located in Washington City. Nobody owns their land today. The United States owns it all. They only had a piece of paper, a warranty deed, that warrants that an original deed does exist. The same applies to motor vehicles. When you buy a car, you are given a certificate of title, but the actual title is held by the government as collateral for its national debt. You only hold a paper that certifies that indeed a title does exist. In other words, even if you have no house mortgage or car loan, you still don't own them. The United States holds title to your property. The previously mentioned Council of State Governors is now the National Conference of Commissioners on Uniform State Laws. This organization consists of only bar licensed lawyers. The illegal and immoral monopoly that controls our nation and our states. These licensed socialists or communists seize private land without just compensation. They parade around with unconstitutional royal title of nobility or esquire. According to the bylaws of their organization, they lobby for, pass, order, and execute statutory provisions to help implement international treaties of the United States, or where world uniformity would be desirable, 1990 through 1991. National Council of Commissioners of Uniform State Laws, page 2. In his book, The Tempting of America, Robert Bork wrote on page 30, we are governed not by law or elected representatives, but by an unelected, unrepresentative, unaccountable committee of lawyers applying no will but their own. And he should know, Robert Bork was a federal judge and support court nominee. The bar licensed lawyers have consistently done away with all constitutional and common law and have substituted and enforced statute law or codes, aka law of merchant, Uniform Commercial Code. to keep we the people as collateral for a bankrupt United States. Is this freedom and liberty? Remember, the United States is an artificial bankrupt corporate entity, not we the living people of America. After World War I, the United States, Inc. once again declared bankruptcy and reorganization in 1950. Title V of the United States Code, annotated 5 USCA, the Secretary of Treasury was appointed as the receiver in bankruptcy according to Reorganization Plan number 26, 5 USCA 903, Public Law 94 through 564. Each year since 1863, the United States has continued to file additional reorganization plans. On July 23rd, 1965, the corporate United States government blatantly violated our Constitution when President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Coinage Act of 1965, which completely removed our constitutional coinage and money. There was no constitutional amendment to change our lawful money. Congress had no constitutional authority to remove silver and gold from our money. In fact, Congress was mandated by our Constitution in Article 1, Section 8, and Article 1, Section 10 to maintain our silver and gold coin, US dollar, under the Equal Weights and Measures Clause. We now have worthless paper, Federal Reserve notes, bills of credit, redeemable for neither silver nor gold. Whereas, according to our ordained Constitution of 1787, Congress has no authority to replace silver and gold coins. Only a constitutional amendment can do so, and not one state has ratified such a change. Such an action is called a de facto act, based on fact, not law, and is unauthorized and unlawful, though legal. The several states sanctioned and enforced this unlawful treason, making it legal. Since these bar lawyers deemed themselves so successful in fooling we the people, they now feel they can do any prohibited act, such as ban guns that are protected by the Constitution. Clinton and Reno were bar members. This is how dangerous and communistic these licensed bar members are. Trusting a bar member is a mistake. The Congress, made up of more than 75% bar member lawyers, passed the Federal Tax Lien Act of 1966, whereby the entire taxing and monetary system was placed under the Uniform Commercial Code, Public Law 89 through 719. The USCC was written by none other than the National Conference of Commissioners on Uniform State Laws, the bar lawyers. When you hire a lawyer to represent you in court, that licensed bar member is prohibited from protecting your constitutional or Christian common law rights. He has taken an oath as an officer of the court, a military martial rule officer, and he is sworn to uphold the wishes of the state, not yours. No bar lawyer can represent you. He can only represent under oath and allegiance the corporate state government. On March 28, 1970, Richard M. Nixon, a bar attorney, issued Presidential Proclamation number 3972, declaring yet another emergency because the U.S. postal employees went on strike. This is how the common law U.S. Post Office was placed under the control of the Department of Defense, Department of the Army Field Manual, FM 41 through 10, 1969 edition. Then on August 15, 1971, Nixon declared a proclamation number 4074 that Federal Reserve notes, bills of credit could not be converted into gold. Once again, on September 21st, 1973, a state of economic emergency was reiterated in Executive Order 1033. 133. Then on October 28th in 1977, Public Law 95 through 147 was passed, which declared that banking institutions are now under the direction and control of the UN's International Monetary Fund, or the IMF. This act also declared that the uniform value of coins and currencies of the United States shall not apply to obligations issued after that date. This is absolute proof that Federal Reserve notes are worthless. Congress said so. The United States is insolvent. They're bankrupt, thanks to the work of some very cunning lawyers. A permanent state of emergency exists in order to implement their perversion of God's law. We, the people, are obligated to foot the bill and have unknowingly pledged our private property as collateral since 1863. The declared economic emergency has placed our monetary control under the UN's International Monetary Fund and the Federal Reserve Corporation as the depository, with the Internal Revenue Corporation collecting our debts. There is no other word for this trickery and deceit but plain fraud. Woe unto you, lawyers, for ye lay men with burdens grievous to be borne, and ye yourselves touch not the burdens with one of your fingers. Luke 11:46. Jesus warned us 2,000 years ago about the bar. We should have listened. The lawyers have stolen our nation, our freedom, our God-ordained rights, and our liberties, and we didn't say a word. These proclaimed emergencies have created over 470 federal law provisions allowing the president extraordinary and unconstitutional powers through executive orders and presidential proclamations and directives, PPDs. This explains why nearly every president has been a lawyer. Clinton had enough emergency executive power to rule our nation as a dictatorship without concern for the Constitution or Christian common law. Perverted Roman civil laws choked and ruined Rome, and America is following suit. Under these executive orders and PPDs, one moment, everyone. Okay, my apology. Under these executive orders and PPDs, the president may, 1, seize property, 2, organize and control industrial production, 3, seize gold and silver, 4, send military forces to foreign soil, 5, institute martial law, 6, seize and control all communication and transportation means, 7, regulate and control all private businesses, and 8, restrict all travel and even forcefully relocate people from place to place. The president can control the lives of every American in any manner he wishes. This is emergency power dictatorship, and executive orders have already been issued to implement all or any of these wishes at any time. Welcome to the real world of America in which we now live. Okay, I think I read this. Okay. Senate Report 93-549 states, a majority of the people of the United States have lived all their lives under emergency rule. For 40 years, freedoms and governmental procedures guaranteed by the Constitution have, in varying degrees, been abridged by laws brought into force by states of national emergency. We can directly thank the bar lawyers for this. State and federal tribunals our entire court system is now made up of military tribunals, have repeatedly stated that constitutional and Christian law arguments are immaterial, frivolous, and contemptuous, that because the courts are no longer under constitutional or Christian common law control. The courts are under emergency military control, where our Constitution has been thrown out under emergency directives and laws. On January 17, 1980, the President and the Senate confirmed another Constitution, the Constitution of the United States Industrial Development Organization, Senate Treaty Document Numbers 97 through 19, 97th Congress, First Session. According to Congress, the Supreme Bar Committee of the United States, our ordained Constitution of 1787 no longer applies. The UN, within its own executive orders and adopted measures, has completely eliminated any rights of expression, communication, movement, assembly, petition, habeas corpus, and religious freedom because of declared emergencies worldwide. Under treaty law, the U.S. falsely proclaims that it must adhere to these provisions. Our lawyer created de facto U.S. government is controlled by UN regulations and rules, even though fraud vitiates the most solemn contracts, documents, and even judgments. U.S. versus Throckmorton, 98 U.S. 61 at 65. If we do not stop the bar, we will surely be placed into communistic slavery, runaway representation from high and lofty places. I know of no safe depository of the ultimate powers of society, but the people themselves. If we think of them as not enlightened enough to exercise their control with a wholesome discretion, the remedy is not to take it from them, but to inform them. When the people are well informed, they can be trusted with their own government. Thomas Jefferson. Come out of Babylon, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sin, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Revelation 18:4. So that's chapter 20. Did anyone have anything they wanted to say? Okay, I'm going to continue reading. So chapter 21 is Esquires and Who Really Won the War. As the story goes, there is a painting somewhere in the vast hallways of the Smithsonian Institute, which shows British soldiers boarding a sailing ship, muskets in hand. The ship is in an American port, and the soldiers are returning home after the War of 1812. There is a problem with this picture, which may not be immediately apparent to the casual viewer. History book tells us that the colonists won that war. They should also tell us that winners in a war usually take the gun away from the losing side. So why were the British soldiers boarding this warship, guns in hand? The answer to that question was provided by a common law judge in the California Republic. He had recently presided over a jury trial in which titles of nobility were the issue. The jury was presented with evidence and arguments that the original 13th Amendment that disappeared after 1812 did not ban slavery after the Civil War. The Slavery Amendment should really be the 14th Amendment. The real 13th Amendment was ratified by 3/4 of the Union states before the War of 1812. It placed into the U.S. Constitution a specific ban against titles of nobility and defined a penalty for those who accepted such titles. That penalty was the loss of citizenship and the loss of eligibility for public office. The common law judge said that the jury had reached a unanimous verdict that the ban on titles of nobility had, and indeed had indeed been duly ratified as a lawful amendment to the Constitution for the United States of America. By banning titles of nobility and defining the penalty for them, the original 13th Amendment was specifically intended to keep bar members out of public office throughout America. The qualifications for serving in the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives, or any public office, all have one thing in common. The would-be office holder must be a citizen of the United States. Since the 14th or 15th Amendment did not appear until 1868, the term United States in these provisions means the states united, and citizens of the United States meant citizens of one of the states united. In other words, citizens of one of the several states of the Union. The Constitution would have thus contained a specific prohibition against titles of nobility and a specific penalty for their use. The loss of citizenship and the restriction from holding public office. The loss of citizenship means that a person who was born or naturalized a citizen would lose that status and thereby become an alien with respect to the United States of America. Since the qualifications for serving in federal elective office all require citizenship, an alien is disqualified from eligibility for these public offices: president, senator, and representative, county commissioner, etc. And a close scrutiny of the amendment's language did not reveal any provision for restoring one's citizenship after it was lost. For this reason, the original 13th Amendment does not contain any provisions for restoring citizenship by renouncing or rescinding a title of nobility. If the farmers of that amendment had wanted citizenship to be restored to those who renounced their titles, such as esquires, then the amendment would have contained language to make restoration possible. The absence of such language proved that it was not possible to restore one's citizenship after accepting a title of nobility. The original 13th Amendment raised some very interesting questions of law. If a law school graduate should join the bar in the state of his domicile, he would join the elite company of esquires. In America, this is the title commonly appended after the name of an attorney. See Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition. And accordingly, one might say, once an esquire, always an esquire. If our up and coming esquire should develop a successful practice, it could and often does happen that he might consider running for federal office, let's say the House of Representatives. Would he be eligible for that office under the original 13th Amendment? No, because the title of esquire would make it impossible for that person ever to be eligible for public office. As a resident alien, that person would not be eligible for election to public office, nor would that person be eligible for naturalization. So there would be no chance that such a person would ever hold such an office under the supreme law of the land. Let's take this argument one step further. Assume for the moment that John Q. Esquire gets elected to the House of Representatives by some quirk of circumstances or intentional cover-up. Would Mr. Esquire be a lawful occupant of that office? No. Would Mr. Esquire be capable of exercising the powers and privileges of that office? No. Would Mr. Esquire be qualified to vote on the matter which came before that august body? No. If Mr. Esquire did attempt to cast a vote on any of the matters which came before the House of Representatives, his vote will be null and void, ab initio, from the beginning. In other words, his vote would not be a vote at all. How many esquires does it take to nullify an act of Congress? 1, 2, 51%? How many esquires are presently seated in Congress? Is it is it greater than 51%? Is it greater than a quorum? Or does it really take only one esquire to spoil the vote of the whole? Maybe we should reconvene the California common law jury and put this question to them, because we now appear to have a really big problem on our hands. If the Senate and the House of Representatives ever consisted of members who were disqualified from serving there by reason of their titles of nobility, then every single act of these bodies would be null and void from the beginning. A House or Senate consisting of disqualified esquires for members would be an unauthorized assemblage of individuals, and all their legislation would be constitutionally null and void. Now ask yourself this question. Since the War of 1812, the approximate time in which the original 13th Amendment surely became law, how many sessions of the House or Senate were conducted by members who have had previously accepted titles of nobility? If your answer is close to 100%, then you are more than likely right. The shocking fact is that every session of the House and Senate since 1812 has consisted of members who were attorneys with the titles of esquire conveniently appended to the end of their names. This means that every session of the House and Senate since 1812 has attempted to pass legislation which would have been null and void from their inception had the original 13th Amendment not been destroyed. How about the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917? There is a magnificent collection of research by Dr. Eugene Schroeder, which shows how Congress amended this act in 1933 in order to define all Americans as enemies of the United States government. Would these acts of Congress be valid if its members were esquires at the time of its passage? No. How about the Federal Reserve Act of 1913? The act of Congress created our Federal Reserve System and the debt money system to which we are all yoked. It would seem for life. Would this have been a valid act of Congress if its members were esquires at the time of its passage? No. How about the 16th Amendment income tax proposal? The act of Congress sent the 16th Amendment out to the states for ratification in 1911. Research by Bill Benson and Red Beckman shows how the 48 states botched the ratification of that proposal. Would Congress have been authorized to issue that proposal if members were esquires at that time? No. How about the 17th Amendment proposal? The act of Congress sent the 17th Amendment out to the states for ratification at the same time as the 16th Amendment proposal. It purported to convert the election of U.S. senators to a popular vote. Under the old procedure, senators were elected by the state legislatures, resulting in much lower campaign costs. Would Congress have been authorized to issue that proposal if its members were esquires at that time? No. If the 17th Amendment had never been properly ratified, then we surely have not had a lawfully convened U.S. Senate at least since 1917. Then all the treaties which were allegedly approved by the U.S. Senate since 1917 would also be null and void. What about GATT or NAFTA, the Genocide Treaty, the United Nations? Round and round it goes. Where it stops, nobody knows. On the contrary, we stopped in 1812, the year of our second Revolutionary War with England. We have not had a lawfully convened Congress at least since the year 1812, had the original 13th Amendment not been lost or destroyed. Now about those British soldiers who were boarding their warship, guns in hand, at the end of that war in 1814. Were they the vanquished or the victors? Didn't they just finish burying the Library of Congress where evidence of the original 13th Amendment had been kept under the watchful eyes of our government record custodians who fled for their lives? What those soldiers didn't know was that the original 13th Amendment had leaked out to other states whose record keepers did not suffer the loss of their libraries, where their official versions of the U.S. Constitution show a 13th Amendment which bans title of nobility. Those versions do not show any ban against slavery, which ban didn't pass until after the Civil War. Something very strange has happened here. During the trial of James and Sharon Patterson, the judge of the United States District Court, Texas Eastern Division, when presented with a certain law, said, "This is not a law that this court goes by. I take my orders from England, case 697, CR 51. Here, a federal judge confirmed the fact that the United States is under British rule. America has never been free. The Revolutionary War was a fraud perpetuated on the American people. The Revolutionary War was a fraud perpetrated on the American people. The real purpose of the Revolutionary War was to centralize power and make England's colonists easier to control. All federal judges, congressmen, U.S. attorneys, state judges, legislators, and most attorneys not know this and are in fact British agents. Their job is to keep the people in line as productive colonialists, for which they, the British agents, are well paid. The police do not know that they work for Great Britain. They too have been deceived. So we must not be critical of them. It is time that everyone in America know the truth. Let every attorney, judge, and legislator know that they have been unmasked. The United States is a British colony still." Wow. Wow. Let's see. Anybody have anything they wanted to say in regards? Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and finish up with chapter 22. And welcome, Mother Mia. Glad to have you here in the building.
Oh, it's my mother. I am so sorry. I am so late. It's been a day.
It is okay. Listen, Mercury retrograde just started, and so I already know, like, we're about to have a time for the next few weeks. So we just gotta cloak ourselves with that protection and just be there for each other.
Yes. Islam, everyone.
Awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're just finishing up the chapters. So I just ended chapter 21. I'm gonna finish up chapter 22, and then we're actually gonna end for the day. So if anyone has anything they want to add at the end, you may. So chapter 22 is titled "The War of 1812." Our second war for independence, the War of 1812. By the first war with Great Britain in 1776, our forefathers asserted and maintained America's right to independent national existence. By their second war with Great Britain in 1812, they obtained equal status for America in international affairs. The War of 1812 was not based on a single cause. It was rather undertaken from mixed motives, political, commercial, and patriotic. It was not popular with many Americans. It was far from logical in some of its positions. It was perhaps precipitated by political party clamor. Despite all this, it established once and for all the position of the United States as an equal power among the national powers of the world. Above all, after the petty political and partisan aspects of the struggle are put aside, in this war, the United States stood for a strong, sound, and universally beneficial principle, the rights of neutral nations in time of war. It is now universally recognized, according to international law, that free ships make free goods. At the turn of the century, it was good theory, supported indeed by good reasoning as well, but disregarded by the most powerful nations of the world. As a result of the firm stand taken by the United States at this time, these disputed principles were settled for all time to come. The cause of the war that most strongly aroused the patriotic feelings of the people, though perhaps not in itself the main cause of the war, was unquestionably the impressment by Great Britain of sailors from American ships. No doubt many English sailors did indeed desert from their naval vessels and take refuge in the easier service and better treatment of America's merchant ships. And Great Britain at that time was straining every nerve to strengthen her already powerful navy. So the press gangs were constantly at work in seaports in England. Once on board a British man of war, the impressed sailor was subject to overwork, bad rations, and the lash. That British sailors fought as gallantly as they did under this regime will always remain a wonder. But it is certain that they deserted in considerable numbers, and they found in the rapidly growing commercial prosperity of our seafaring trade and an inviting opportunity for paid employment. As a result, Great Britain, with a large contempt for the weakness of the United States, presumed, rather than claimed, the right to stop our merchant vessel on the high seas to examine the crews and to claim as her own any British sailors among them. This was bad enough in itself, but the way in which these searches were carried out was even worse. Every form of insolence and overbearing was exhibited. These pretense of claiming British deserters covered what was sometimes barefaced and outrageous kidnapping of Americans, which just would not do. The British officers went so far as to lay the burden of proof of nationality upon the sailor himself, and if he were without papers proving his identity, he was at once assumed to be a British subject. This insult to our flag was carried to such a great extent that our government noted more than 4,500 cases of impressment from our ships between the years of 1803 and 1810. Furthermore, by 1812, when the war broke out, the number of American sailors serving against their will on British men of war vessels was estimated to be from 6 to 14,000. In some cases, American ships were obliged to return to home port in the middle of their voyage because their crews had been so diminished in number at sea by seizures made by British officers that they were too short-handed to proceed. In no few cases, these depredations led to bloodshed. Were not the British intentionally trying to goad us into war? The greatest outrage of all, one which stirred the blood of Americans to the fighting point, was the capture of an American war vessel, the Chesapeake, by the British man of war, the Leopard. The Leopard was by far the most powerful vessel, and the Chesapeake was quite unprepared for action. Even so, her commander refused to accede to a foreign demand that his crew be overhauled in search for British deserters. Thereupon, the Leopard poured broadside after broadside into her until her flag was struck in surrender. 3 Americans were killed and 18 wounded. 4 were taken away as alleged deserters. Of these 4, 3 were afterwards returned, while 1 proved to be an Englishman who was then hanged. Then the whole sordid affair was contrary to the law of nations, and in itself was ample grounds of war. Great Britain, however, ungracefully and belatedly apologized and offered reparations. This incident took place in 1806, 6 years before the actual declaration of war in 1812, but the outraged populace rankled all that time, and no event did more to fan the anti-British feeling in America, especially in the Democratic, or as it was often then called, Republican Party. Such deeds as this led Henry Clay to exclaim, "Not content with seizing upon all our property that falls within her rapacious grasp, the personal rights of our countrymen, rights which forever are sacred, are forever are sacred, are trampled on and violated by the unlawful imprisonment of our seamen. What are we to gain by war? What are we not to lose by peace? Commerce, character, a nation's best treasure, honor." Meanwhile, British expeditions of considerable size were directed against our seaports in the South. One of these brought General Ross and 5,000 men, the pick of the Duke of Wellington's army, into Chesapeake Bay. Nothing was more to the discredit of the military strategy of our administration than the fact that at this time, Washington, D.C. was left unprotected, even though in evident danger. General Ross marched straight upon the Capitol, seized the city, and burned it and its archives, mostly to the ground. The sitting duck was plucked, and the original 13th Amendment was lost. Ross' conduct in the burning of Washington, D.C. was perhaps within the limits of legitimate warfare, but it has been condemned as semi-barbarous by many writers and historians. The achievement gave great joy to the English papers, but was perhaps of less importance geographically than was supposed. Washington at that time was a straggling town of only 8,000 inhabitants. Its public buildings were not at all adequate to the demands of the future, and an optimist might even consider the destruction of the old city as a public benefit, for it enabled Congress to adopt the plans which have since led to the making of perhaps the most beautiful city in America. On the other hand, was it really of less importance than was supposed? In the process, the original 13th Amendment to the Constitution for the United States disappeared among the ruins of the government buildings of the town. The original 13th Amendment barred anyone with a title of nobility from citizenship in the United States. Had it not been for its disappearance, attorneys with the title Esquire would not be able to hold positions in the government from that time on and forevermore. This was the great achievement that gave great joy to the English papers. All American attorneys or esquires are under allegiance to the British Crown. They have no rightful loyal place in the United States government. Yet almost all of our representatives in the federal government are esquires. According to the Spin Doctors of the World Book Encyclopedia, Volume 20, page 26, the War of 1812 was in many ways the strangest war in the United States history. It could well be named the War of Faulty Communication. 2 days before the war was declared, the British government had stated that it would repeal the laws which were the chief excuse for fighting. If there had been telegraphic communication with Europe, the war might well have been avoided. Speedy communication would also have prevented the greatest battle of the war, which was fought at New Orleans, 15 days after the Treaty of Peace had been signed. Page 27, a group of young men known as war hawks dominated Congress during this period. Henry Clay of Kentucky and John C. Calhoun of South Carolina were the outstanding leaders of the group. Clay was the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Like Clay and Calhoun, most of the war hawks came from Western and Southern states, where many of the people were in favor of going to war with Great Britain. The people of New England generally opposed going to war because war with Great Britain would entirely wipe out the New England shipping trade, which had already been heavily damaged. Many historians believe that a leading motive of the war hawks was a desire for expansion. The people of the Northwest were meeting armed resistance in their attempt to take more land from the Indians, and the Indians had considerable British support. An American army was attacked by Indians at the Battle of Tippecanoe in the Wabash Valley in November 1811, and British guns were found on the battlefield. The Westerners, therefore, were anxious to drive the British out of Canada. The South had also suffered a serious loss of markets, but the deciding motive for war seemed to have been a strong desire for more land. End of quote. There is no mention here about the original 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution that mysteriously disappeared. Because of Eli Whitney's invention of the cotton gin, the South was getting to be more prosperous than the North, and there was a danger that the banking powers in the East would see their monetary control diluted by the establishment of banking concerns in the South and the West. The money powers that be perhaps influence attorneys, but not necessarily the common man. During the trial of James and Sharon Patterson, case 697, CR 51, William Wayne, Justice, Judge of the United States District Court, Texas Eastern Division, when presented with common law, stated, "I take my orders from England. This is not a law that this court goes by." Herein, a federal judge confirmed that the fact that the United States is under British rule, America has never been free. The Revolutionary War was a fraud perpetrated on the American people. The Revolutionary Wars was to centralize power and make the people easier to control. All federal judges, congressmen, U.S. attorneys, state judges, legislators, and most attorneys know this and are in fact British agents. Their job is to keep the people in line as productive slaves, for which job they, as British agents, are greatly compensated. Our police officers and military do not know that they work for Great Britain. They, too, have been deceived, so we must not malign or attack them. It is time for every American to know the facts. Let us all work together in exposing the British Empire. Let every attorney, judge, and legislator in your area know they have been unmasked. The United States is a British colony. Who really won those wars? All right, guys, so that concludes reading for today. Did anyone have anything they wanted to say in regards to what we read?
Yeah, that's the thing. United States is a colony of the British.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't know that.
No, they don't.
They think, oh, the United States is a powerful nation, blah, blah, blah. And all the, like every country is separate. No.
Right.
Every country is controlled by a central entity. And each of the corporation is owned. And, and if you want to find out, you can go to the SEC's website. It will tell you who owns which country or which country. Yeah, that's a lot of people think they're living in a country and the government is taking care of their welfare, their security, and all of that.
Right.
It's like you're living in a prison, being watched, and making sure that you are in line with what they want you to be in line with.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Mother, you know what the thing is, though, and I think that's why you have so many people that are, protesting and doing all this other stuff, because you can't tell people, oh, you're free, and start, building your whole life around the perception of being free. The thing is, people believe it. So now when you finally tell people, oh, well, nope, our lawyers are all under England, and oh, nope, we're you're not really free, people are not taking that very well. And so that's why people are acting the way they're acting, because it's like saying, oh, you're telling me I'm free, but now you're telling me that I'm not. And now you're telling me that, our money is, going to the queen, but we're supposed to be free. And then they wonder why people are losing their minds.
Right. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. I mean, we know this by now. It's definitely a lot to take in and process. And, I don't know. I mean, there's literally people that still don't know this, guys. That's the thing about it. It's like, wow.
Well, and I don't know if I like the part where it says, our police officers and military don't know, so don't malign or attack them. I'm like, wait, hold on, wait, no. Because don't matter who they are working under, what they do is their choice.
Right.
And they don't know that they're working under the crown. It doesn't, they
take away their actions. Right.
Right. They still got to be held accountable for their actions, I
definitely agree with that. Right is right and wrong is wrong. So
exactly. Like, what do you mean?
Exactly. And the thing is, those people who have taken the jab, some of them think that those of us that haven't taken it, that we're selfish, that, when you haven't taken the jab and you go to, to get services, maybe you go to the, restaurant or something, and they tell you that they won't serve you because, you haven't taken the jab.
Right.
And they say, well, that's their rules. If you don't take the jab, then you can't be served. And I say, how can that be right? When, you have a right to be served just like everybody. Because that's, to me, is discrimination.
It is.
And that's it. Yeah, and it is like divide and conquer.
Right.
It's like, dividing the people to fight each other. So now you have the people who have been jabbed against those who haven't been jabbed, because those who have been jabbed think those who haven't are a danger to them. Whereas it's opposite.
And my thing is how. If you got, the jab, then you good. You good. So what's your problem? What's your problem?
Well, they do know that they're not 100%, yeah, they know that they're not 100%,
Right. Well, and the thing is now, and here again in New York, it's one of them things, and New York is going through it, but we are fighting because now they're telling nurses that, if you got a license, they're going to call you in. But if you, in order to go in, you got to take a jab. But if you say no, they're talking about taking your license. So I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I'll,
No, it's even
for private.
That's why you need an online business.
most definitely you need to keep your. My children, I've been trying to really communicate with my children's father. He's very much not conscious or woke about any of this stuff. And I recently talked to him, and he says I talk like one of his brothers. And so I told him, I said, well, you need to actually listen to him because the things that he's saying are true. And I was telling, because he's like a principal, assistant principal or something in school. So he works for a school. So I understand this is where a lot of people's way of living is coming from. But at some point, it's like, okay, it's really time to sit down and assess what is being said. So my daughter came home yesterday. My oldest daughter picked up my youngest daughter from her father's house. I didn't know anything about it, but come to find out, apparently she got sent home along with another group of children, claiming to have been exposed to somebody around COVID. And I'm like, well, who could this possibly be?
Right. Right.
I'm just trying to figure out who is exposed. It's crazy to me. So she has to be home now for a week before she can go back to school. And it's like, this is not making any sense. It's really not making sense what they're doing.
Yeah, it really isn't. Even my daughter called me this early, rising day to tell me that, if I don't, it means that if I'm not going to travel and I'm not taking the jab, then I won't see my granddaughter, because that's what it is. I said, no, I will see her because things are not going to stay the same forever. I cannot, no doubt it is painful that I'm not there during this time, but the fact of the matter is, it is what it is. And one has to, do one's best to stay alive and not go before your time,
Right.
And, I'm trusting that I want to be there for this child when she's, growing past this stage. So what if I go take the jab because I want to see her from birth, and then, 2 months down the road, I'm gone.
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
Well,
I'm so sorry that's happening to you, mother.
Yeah. Me and my son got into an argument too, because apparently, his dad is in the army and stuff. Told him that it's okay, and so my son did. So me and him got into it. Me and him got really into it, and it was just, it was crazy. And then I said, well, then since you think, your father knows more than me, then, go over there and stay there. But then I said, he's not going to get detox. I know he's not if he goes. I know he's not. So I started him on the detoxing process. I started him on the protocol. And then yesterday, that's when the fight broke out, because he's like, I'm not taking it. And I said, yes, you are. And he was like, no. And I was like, and then it just kind of came, but he was actually questioning my credentials as a nurse. I said, you're a little behind. I ain't even been on this earth 1/20th of a century. And I've been a nurse longer than you've been alive. And you're going to question my credentials. And I'm like, this thing it really has come to divide. It really has come to divide.
Exactly. It has come to divide, because it's dividing the family, Yeah.
And then I said, well, you know what? I said, if this is my route. If you're going to do it, this is what it's going to have to be. It's going to have to be this. I said, either do the protocols because I know what we need to do, or the next step is you got to leave. And I honestly, you got a choice. You got a choice.
That's
You
right.
know, and I'm at this point where I'm like, did you really? I'm like, did you really just seriously question my credentials as a nurse? I'm like, oh no, he didn't. Smack, 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 tap, pop, smack.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, how old is your son?
He's 23. Okay.
Mm.
So when
And
he
he's been
graduates,
there with you this whole time, learning all that you're learning and going through. That's
yep,
that's
yep.
sweet.
Because when he graduated, about 6 months later is when this whole COVID thing hit.
Mm-hmm.
So he literally graduated, and then we went into a lockdown. So during the time, I was like, okay, and then and I did feel bad because it was like, he had all these plans that he wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think he wanted to, I thought, he wanted to be younger, so his oath, and then all of a sudden the lockdown happened. I'm like, okay,
Right.
well, here we go. Here we go, and and yes, and as much as I've been telling him, but unfortunately, when I don't know, maybe it's because when he was in school, I don't know what it was or why he felt that, the talking heads on TV were right and I'm wrong. And I'm thinking, yeah, but I'm the nurse. I've been doing this for like 25 years. I was the med nurse. I've given more shots than I even care to even know to count, and I see the results of certain meds and how it, responds to people. And I said to him, I said, they're not going to tell you the truth about what was really in those vaccines until 20, 25 years down the line. So, that's how they do. They're not going to tell you again about, what the HIV could have been solved with like a simple antibiotic, and it could have been cleared up in 2 weeks. But they don't tell you this until 25 years later, after a whole generation has passed. And that's the problem. They don't tell you these things. And then all of a sudden, when you start seeing things happening, and then you think it's something else when it's not, So, yeah, and I'm thinking every week he sees, he hears, da da da, and I'm like, oh my God, what? So, I mean, like even in my house, even before, I knew, I've had what do you call that? A negative ion, um, like the necklace that I wear, but I also have a
Like
big
an air
one.
purifier.
Yeah, but it's a negative ion filter, and I've had that since February of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I also have miniature ones in each of our rooms. So, yeah, so I started the zeolite. I started on the zeolite and the quercetin, which is the pill form of hydrochloroquine, and the whole protocol,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but of course, and I know he's getting tired of it. And I'm like, well, you should have thought about that, before, listening to your dad. You should have thought about it, and his father's an idiot. I can't stand up. His father's an idiot. I have to say that, but I'm like, what? What? I'm like, your father is not a nurse. He's not a nurse. I'm like, ugh.
But even
Like my daughter
if
says,
he's
I'm not a
nurse,
medical.
my husband not a nurse, and he got common sense. Come on, man, that's just
Yeah, like my daughter says, well, I'm not a medical doctor. I said, I don't need to be, because my health is in my own hands.
right.
And then she went on to say, well, remember when we came to Canada and they won't let me go to school until I send my immunization history. She said, but you didn't have any problem with that. And then I said, well, the fact of the matter is, I didn't know as much as I do now at that time. And we're supposed to be growing every day. If I knew, what I knew now, that would not happen.
That's right.
What I would have done is get an exempt form, filled it out, and send it to them.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Right.
But she doesn't understand. I said, you know what? You don't really know what's going on.
Right.
And I don't really want to debate the issue.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, she brought it up, and I said, I don't want to argue or get you or any. I don't want any of us to be upset. Let's have a conversation as a family, and put that aside.
That's
Right.
right.
Right. And honestly, it's funny because I was listening to that one thing what Rob was saying. There
Mhm.
was a Jamaican nurse, I believe, was it here in New York or was it New Jersey? She was giving people saline.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't giving them the shot.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say that, it's basically just a waiting game, and basically
Exactly.
because like Rod said, to me it sounds like he was saying they know whether or not what shot to give you. They know whether or not you're supposed to have saline or not or whatever. So he said some of our people were given saline. So it's really at this point you just got to be hopeful and just wish the best and just say, well, at
Your protocol, because I'm definitely
and
going to
still
be,
do the protocol.
and I'm going to go over those protocols again on Sunday.
Okay. Yeah, we need that.
Yeah, those protocols that you
I'm
just
going to go
mentioned,
over the
they are
protocols.
great.
I got a couple of protocols. I got a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
And, and one of the ones, it was funny because when I forgot who was that. It wasn't Wayne Belly. One of the brothers had sent me one of the protocols, and it was from a doctor, and everything this doctor did on his list, I was already covered. So I'm like, yes.
Awesome.
So I was like, yes, put me and the doc are on the same page. Yes, so I'm going to be going over that this Sunday. Just so because of everything that just is coming about in New York and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I really want people to be prepared just in case.
Absolutely.
Again, even for family members that might have, even for yourself, I'm gonna be going over that again.
Yeah, well, we definitely need that. So I'll make sure to be in the building and get that information, try to pass it along as well. Um, but other than that, guys, like I said, we just gotta keep each other uplifted and hope for the best and still be prepared for the worst at the same time. But once we get over all of these little hiccups and road bumps and things that we're going through, I believe that once we get over all of that, we're going to have we're going to be going into an amazing era in our lives and whatever for our future. So we just got to
Right
get
now,
past it all.
I do see the light at the end of the tunnel. Right now, we're in the tunnel, and it may look dark and drab and murky inside the tunnel, but the light is at the end. It really is.
That's right.
Yeah, I agree. The light is,
The light is there.
Yeah, the thing is,
but
I
right now
was,
it's frustrating. It's like, but it's
I
there.
I don't know whether you know about the Clock of Destiny book.
I was just reading about that today. Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah, so I read the first volume. I think it was this weekend. And boy, does it not have a lot to say about what's coming. So let's just because it says before things turn back to melanated people.
And that's what it is.
There's going to be a war. And that war is going to be like no other that have been before. Because, and then it mentioned all the different areas where this war is going to take place. And it will be overturned. And it says that the women, because the Caucasian who because everything started from the United States. And it says that the daughters of revolution, when they decided that they didn't want Black women to marry white men, and all the other things that they did. And because of all of that, the judgment is coming. And so everything is going to be overturned back to them, and it's going to be overturned, whereby because they have made our people to be begging for things, they will be the one begging this time. They will be the one begging the Black people for food.
Wow.
Well, I mean, because in this country, like during slavery days, they said it was the white woman they was beating our children and killing our children so much that they actually had to pass a law making it illegal for her to beat the children to death, because they were losing, quote unquote, stock. That's how much these women were beating our babies to death.
Yeah.
Oh, she got it
I mean, they even said that Niagara Falls was actually based on killing our people, because they were throwing them out of, they are going, throwing them down. That's why they call it Niagara, Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls,
Wow.
Right. Yeah. Just throwing it over the falls. And I'm like, you know what? Woo! When it's time.
No, that's right.
When it's time.
Because all the places where they committed all these atrocities are going to be dealt with. So there's going to be a lot of bloodshed,
And when you stop and look at it, think about Emmett Till, our baby. He was not, I think he just turned 13.
Yeah.
I mean, and then what was they said this boy, he was 14. This happened like 8, 9, 10 weeks ago. He died in a very similar way to Emmett Till, and it was a white woman that led him into the woods or something like that. And he got, they said they beat his boy so bad that you couldn't, his face was unrecognizable, like Emmett Till. And this happened about 10 weeks ago. And I was like, y'all keep still messing with our baby. Keep on messing with our baby.
Yeah, they've been doing that for a long time. It's unfortunate we don't, because they know everything. They know everything about us,
Right.
but we don't even that than we know about ourselves.
Right.
And it's unfortunate, because the thing about it is when you enter the workplace, you have no idea what you are going to experience there, and then you have to deal with it not knowing. I mean, those of you in the United States, you are better, but those of us from come from the continent, and then you kind of like, what's going on here? It's like a shock to your system. And then because you don't have the community telling you anything, you are kind of like isolated, and you have to deal with it the way you know how,
Well, here, like in America, like when you saw the thing of when they sent the Haitians back, and that's what I was saying. Like I grew up in in Brooklyn and all those areas where a lot of the people that come from the islands or Africa, whatever, they stay in the little enclaves, and we're like, you might not want to do that. You might not want to,
Exactly. Well, part of that is because they think they're different from,
I had to say that to me. Oh, I'm not like you. I was never they told me I was never a slave.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that mentality. And a lot of Africans have no clue.
Right. None.
What our people went through in the United States. They have no clue, and they are not interested.
And I be
the few that know are maybe because they have African American friends, and they were able to learn what they know. Yeah.
My friends that are from the Congo and stuff, I'm like, girl, no, no, you don't want to do, no. They're like, oh no, it's okay. I'm like, no, it's not. Bring your behind over here now, now. When I get that tone in my voice, they're like, okay, I never heard that tone before. I better listen to her. I'm like, yes, get over here, because too they come because. And then she says, when we're on TV, we see them, as nice and, like Friends, like that TV show Friends and, Seinfeld, and they're just funny. And I'm like,
Yeah, charging on.
So we, so, and that's when I said, when they, sent them all back. And then, my friends are like, what happened? What happened? I'm like, this is not new. This is how it's always been. They ain't gonna let too many come in. They're bad enough the numbers are dwindling, so they get nervous. They're very sensitive about that,
Because in Africa, a lot of Africans think, oh, the white man is God. They think, oh, they know everything, that they don't know anything. They have to listen to what the white man says. That's the mindset that most of them have. They won't even buy the things that are made in their country. They rather buy that which comes from abroad because they think that is more of quality.
And they don't understand.
They see, when they see what their people are making and it's really good and it's quality, they can't believe it.
Right. Mother says, do you want to tell her that everything that they stole from us, everything that everybody uses every day, is because
it's all come from us.
You know what? I get attacked by my family. I get attacked by my family when I start saying these things.
Yeah, from the car to the automobile to the automatic automobile to the traffic light.
Yeah, we had.
You know what they say to me? You know what my family said to me? They say, how come I love my people? How come I'm always on their side? They say that people are bad. They're this, they're that. Oh, they do all these things. And I'm thinking, you see, they're well brainwashed. And of course, they are
we have a lot of.
They're in Christianity. So what do I expect? They're in Christianity.
I've been noticing the self-hate, mother. It is so bad how I just wish I could just blink my eyes and just change the world. It's just bad, the self-hate, just different conversations that I'm having, and I'm just trying to help the people around me even just see that they are the guys, we are the kings and the queens. And it's like, well, I like being in this situation, so I'm just gonna pay my bills because I got to. It's like, what they don't believe. I tell them I'm a creator. I have 4 children. I created. I am a creator. They look at me like I'm crazy. It's like I'm speaking Japanese to them.
They think you're saying you're God. Because the thing is, they've created this thing that they call God that is separate from themselves.
Right.
So that's the problem.
But here's the thing, Mother. It even says in the Bible, even Jesus said, you are God.
But
I know.
I pulled that scripture up from my own father. And it just
I've told them that several times. But you know what? The fact of the matter is their mind is being controlled. They are brainwashed. Even when you tell them the truth and they hear you, they are still not convinced until they're ready. Yeah.
Jesus said it. But Jesus.
Right, exactly. I just don't understand it.
Jesus also said, heavens is within you.
Right.
Heaven is within you, meaning that, it's all about consciousness.
Right.
And Jesus said, all these things I do, you too.
Exactly.
Even greater.
And more. And more.
And more. I tell them
And
that,
then-
and they just
and
don't
then
get it. They don't get
Oh,
it.
that's blasphemy. You can't say that. I'm like, Jesus said it. What are you talking about?
And that Jesus is the same Jesus they pray. Like even in West Africa, in Nigeria, I was surprised that anytime they cannot make a statement without putting in Jesus' name. It's like, and I said,
Yeah.
since when did they start putting Jesus as God? Because it wasn't always like that.
And he didn't even say he was God.
And he didn't say he was God. They made it because the church made him God, and that's, oh my gosh.
He
Right.
said, I come from.
Yeah.
I come from him who made me.
Mhm.
He didn't even say he was.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Some people, oh my God.
The
Don't tell people, hey,
brainwashing is deep. The brainwashing is deep.
It's
The
very,
brainwashing is deep.
it's painfully deep. Like, I
Yeah.
don't
oh.
understand.
And I'm sorry, but the Bible said Jesus levitated and floated up out of the air, so I believe him. Well, I'm like,
Thank you.
does that mean I could do that too? Of course, because he
Yes.
said it. Everybody saw him. There was
He
witnesses.
said we
that saw him
supposed
do
to do greater than he did. I mean, it's like, come on, man. What
The fact of the matter is,
believing he
you're
walked
supposed
on water,
you're
but
supposed
we can't
to be
believe
visiting
him.
all the other dimensions. The fact of the matter is, we have
Don't
been to
I
all
don't
the,
try to look at a
Yeah.
lake and thinking I can be like, let me get my own mojo on. Let me figure this out.
yeah.
Don't look at me to looking at a lake real funny.
I mean, they have all these people afraid of where they're going to go when they die.
Right.
And rather than them
Yeah.
living a good
Yeah.
life, they're just concerned about where they're going to go when they die. Why don't you be concerned how you live here
How
first?
you live here, right? Exactly. It's crazy.
You know?
Well, and don't tell them that all those stories came from the walls in the tomb of Egypt and about Mayat and how Anubis is the representation of Peter. He guards the gate. Okay, he ushers you in, and they're not going to tell you Ma'at is the law of balance. That's why you get your heart weighed with the feather in your heart, weighing the scales. And I'm like, well, where y'all think all those stories came from? I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go there because then people's heads start.
I don't even go that deep, because it's a waste of time. Don't bother
It is.
anymore. Waste of time. Because they will hear it and it goes out it goes out straight away from the second ear, and they're back to the same thing that they're doing.
Talking about that voodoo stuff.
I literally was trying to tell my sister about the ancestors.
I don't waste my energy on those things anymore. It's not worth
I was trying to tell my sister about the ancestors and stuff like that, and how we should, be really praying to our ancestors or whatever, stuff like that. And so she made a statement and said, well, I'm just gonna pretend.
Don't tell them you got to make a little altar, not a shrine, an altar to honor them.
Right.
God, don't
Right,
tell them
she's
that.
gonna say, I'm just gonna pretend that my mother, I'm just gonna pretend that my mama was praying to her mother then. So I said, come on, let's be real. Miss me with that, because for goodness that she was not praying to her mother and that she was praying to some delusional man. Like, come on.
Right.
It never
Right.
existed.
Right.
Like, you're not gonna sit up here and try to play me like, man, it's very, very ignorant.
It's gonna come a point in time where I'm hoping that everybody's eyes will be open and they will see the truth. And we've been lied to so much that even there are some truths we might not even know about that we're gonna learn.
Absolutely.
And I'm okay for it. And I'm
Forever
open
learning. Right.
Right.
Forever learning every day.
And I'm open to those truths, however they may come. And when the time comes, again, all these things, and unfortunately, it's because we've been lied to so much, and so we've been deceived on so many levels that we're like, oh my God, what is this? And what is this? And what is this? And honestly, when the time comes, I believe, and I'm gonna just put it out there, it's gonna be the mothers who are going to be setting this right. I really feel that it's going to be the mothers, and I know there are some brothers out there, it's like,
Yeah.
mother mad at you.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Right. And I used
Even
to tell
even
them,
the book, even I think the Clock of Destiny even says that it is the women that are going to now take over, and then and it goes on to say that nature cannot allow what is going on to continue because the next generation cannot be allowed to be taught the deception that has been going on for generations after generations. So things need to be cleaned up so that this new generation can start afresh.
Right.
And also to reverse everything back to the way it's supposed to be. Wow, I thought that's something good to look forward to. Yeah.
Right.
And the mothers are going to be, at the helm of affairs. Yeah.
I was reading, what's that book, Isonomy? And in the beginning of the book, it talks about the mother being, they were talking about the words like myrrh, more, and how it all began. More specifically, the letter M and the letter R, and how it came about because of these writings were on a Moabite stone that was in Moab, like almost 1,000 years before Jesus. And they were saying that when they looked at the stone, and that's where, some of the Moabite things came from, but they were saying on this Moabite stone, what he did was, interpret what the writings was, but then a lot of the ones came up, and they showed a picture of the stones too, but they were in almost like in hieroglyphs. And the people who found it was like, wait, this looks very familiar. They would travel back to Egypt, and they saw a lot of the hieroglyphs inside of the tombs that was on that rock and on a stone. And they kept seeing MR, like Madhu Nectar, and they were saying that the M and the R was represented with water, like the womb, water, life, life giver. And
yeah, I learned that in Medu Nature. I learned about that
right,
in Medu
Nature. And it went up, right, and it turned into Mother Nectar, right, and then that's where, as they looked at the stones, it kept saying, myrrh, 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 and I was like, oh, so I'm like, so that word went way back to Kemet, so, and then when they were saying they looked it up, it meant, caretaker of the land, owner of the land, keepers of the land, so as opposed to other people claiming, quote unquote, to be Moors, they more specifically dark-skinned owners of the land is what it basically translated to. I was like, oh, so I was like, okay, now I get it, So,
right.
So if they saw you was dark skinned, automatically you're a dark skinned owner of the land. So they already know who you are.
They know. They know. They know.
And right. It didn't matter if they saw you here in Asia, in America, Amex, North, South, Canada. It didn't matter. When they see you as the dark skinned owner of the land. I'm like, oh.
They do know. They do know.
I'm like, so they know. I'm like, oh my God, so they know.
That hence why
Other, can you put the information about the book on the chat, please? Is it called?
Sure. It's called, I'm getting it now. It's called Myrrh to More, Kemet to Now. That's what it's called. That's what here, I got it right here. It's called MER. The name of the book is MER to MOOR. Kemet Until Now. That's the name of the book, and it's by Cosmo L. So I'll put it in the chat. And I was like, oh, and so it showed you what it was represented.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. That's the name of it. It's a little small yellow book, but it shows you how it goes from hieroglyphs to proto, what is it called? and of course, everything got all backwards when it got to the Greeks, because that's who studied at their feet. But it's hieroglyphs to Proto-Sinaitic, Sinaitic, to Phoenician and Paleo-Hebrew, to early Greek, to Greek, to Latin, to modern Hebrew. So when they saw it, it was written in, some of it was written in Paleo-Hebrew, and some of it was written in modern Hebrew. Well, Hebrew at that time. So then they had to go trace it all the way back to the caves of Kemet. And then that's when they found out what it meant. And the M was represented for water, like life giver. And it shows you the picture in the book and the tablet.
Yeah,
and
that's why you have all these words, Mary.
Yep, that was one of the words. That was one of the words. And then I was like, okay, but were they here, in North America? And you know what? And one of the other words that was used for us is called Algonquin. And Algonquin is a tribe. And I know up here, close to where I am, there's a section called Algonquin. And next to that is a restaurant called, guess what? Sagamore, as in Sacagawea, Moore. Sagamore.
They also have the
a street here named Algonquin.
Yeah, they have Algonquin in Canada too. In fact, there's a big park called Algonquin Park.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, people go there for, like a retreat, if you want to, yeah, people go there for, some days just to chill because you are right in nature. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, Algonquin. I was like, holy crap. And Sagamore, and they have a boat that they use that goes out every night, and the boat is called Morgan, which means morning. I'm like, oh, it's all in the face.
Absolutely.
All up in the face. So it's going to be.
The thing is, a lot of people in Canada that call themselves natives, they're not the right people because they're all mixed up. They're mixed.
Right.
And if you an African is telling them, they wouldn't even, some of them you can't even recognize that, some of them are even they look white, but they tell you that they're native Canadian.
Look, what did Trump say?
Because Canada had indigenous people there before they came.
Right.
They just killed them off. So Canada too is going to be affected with the Great War. It's going to be affected because the city of Ottawa, where the capital is, they wiped everybody in that place out and then put themselves there. And and I can tell you, the seat of government in Ottawa, it's so brutal to our people. Really brutal.
Ottawa was another tribe. Ottawa was another tribe.
Yeah.
Oswego, Ottawa, Tomahawk, Tomahawk. All these were tribes.
Yeah.
Cameroon, they were all tribes. And it's gonna come to a point where even like here with the Aboriginal natives here, they also had a matriarchal system. It was not patriarchal. Like when you saw the men and the men had the feathers, it was a wrap. They was coming out there to the house, But the women were the ones who were the lawgivers and the law makers,
right.
So they understood the whole matriarchal thing, and it's gonna come to a point where it's gonna have to go back to that. It's gonna have to go back to that. And our men, they gotta, Mother Kai wants to step up too, but they're supposed to be our protector. So while we do what we do,
everything is gonna go back the way it's supposed to be.
Stop telling us you're mad at us and get going with the protecting.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And you know what the books also said, that they would have no choice but to mate with our people to get back to their original form. Because one of the nobles that teaches was saying that by the year 2030, you won't even see any white people on the planet, that they will be gone. I thought, wow, 2030 is not that far.
Right. That's what Biden was telling them. He was telling the Mexicans that what was that? It's like last year, around that time when he had
You get used to working with the Mexicans. I'm like, what? They're not even indigenous to their land. They are an admixture of Asian and of Asian, a little bit of Black, but
it wasn't the Mexicans. He was talking to, I think it was like a group of pastors or something. I can't remember, but it was actually
he was talking to the pastors,
right?
Let the Mexicans in, and
right? Exactly.
He told those leaders that they better get used to working with the
Mexicans because they were going to be extinct by 2030, right?
And I'm looking at that, like, did they build up anything in Mexico? Did they have any infrastructure that they built in Mexico? No. But they want to come here and take advantage of the structures that were already here built by us. I hate to say it, but it just might have to come down to everybody going to have to get put in their place.
Right. Well, the thing is, everybody that's been part of the oppression of our people, they're going to be dealt with. They're going to be destroyed. That's all I can say. Everybody, including some of our own people that have been part of the oppression of our people.
Absolutely.
They too will be, they'll be, because even Isis Wisdom is saying that.
Yes.
She's also saying that.
Yeah,
remember when I was telling you guys last week that I was reading this book because I just had a feeling that there were people who look like us, but they're not us. And that was Black. It's called Black Skin, White Mask by Frantz Fanon.
Yeah, by Frantz Fanon. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was funny because when I was listening to Rod today, he was saying something along the same lines that there are people. He said something about a submarine, like it was a whole city, and he said that they, blew up that submarine because when you see all of our women showing up missing, that's where they've taken them. And I guess apparently he said that they went ahead, and I've just been having this feeling lately, like, and I knew last week, I was like, they look like us, but they got black skin, but they have white masks. They look like us on the outside, but they're not us. And I'm like, okay, I hope.
Yeah, somebody said they look like us, but act like the white man or something like that. Was Rob.
Exactly.
There are many like that. Yeah, there are many like that.
They're not us. They're not us. And then I'm gonna tell you, like, I know there's certain people who follow certain people and telling people to follow them certain people. And one day I was listening to this person. I swear to God, I closed my eyes and I listened with my third eye. I said, this person looked like us, but he's white. I said, he looks like us, but he's white. He is not us. And anytime, and what Isis said, Isis Wisdom, she says, if you get somebody who ain't got nothing good to say about the melanated woman, that's because they hate the melanated woman, and they hate the melanated woman for a reason, because that person is not of us. I'm like, that's right. That's right. And I'm like, we need to be careful about who we tell our people to follow, because there are certain people that come amongst us, I'm going to put it out, to infiltrate. And I believe this person is one of them. I just don't get a good feeling about this person. And I was like, when he said Alex Jones woke him up, I'm like, Alex Jones, that man said he would eat you if he had to. And that's who woke you up? I'm like, careful. Let's be careful about who you use discernment.
I'm already trying to tune out to all that drama and carrying on, and
because we got a lot of work to do. That's why I was like, when this all clears and the dust clears and we make it out on the other side,
I have a lot of work to do. Yeah.
we have a lot of work to do, and certain people going to have to get got. I'm gonna just put it out there.
That's right.
Yeah, that's correct.
We can't have people trying to stop from us trying to put back what needs to be put back. That's just
Well, we also have to be ready. That's why, you know, whatever anybody is doing, we have to be ready to help our people, because when they wake up, they be coming to us to learn.
absolutely.
Yeah, they be coming in droves, because their eyes are going to be open and they're going to become aware.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Those that make it, yeah.
Exactly. And the ones that weren't meant to. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Those that weren't meant to. And I hate to say it, it might be some of our family and friends, and sometimes.
Yeah, I already know that. Some of our family and friends. Yeah.
We tried, you know.
I've gotten myself ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's what it's gonna have to be, you know. But it's gonna be good. We're gonna fix it. We're gonna fix it. We're gonna fix it all. We're gonna fix it all, because we could do that. We're gonna put it back better than what it was before. Better.
The other thing is, there are many other in other dimensions who are interested in interested in our planet, because this planet is supposed to be where they get their resources from. You know, it's a planet of resources, and there like the I think is the what's it called, something federation. They've been taking care of us for a long time. They don't want, especially the only time they don't interfere with our problem is when we are the one creating the problem for ourselves.
Now, here's the thing, though. But in this case, we're not. In this case, there's others who are creating.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why they're here to help us.
Right. And I used to always say, and my friend said this to me, just like, oh, well, we were meant to be a gas station? No, I said, we were meant to be a resort. We're supposed to come, park your ship right over there, stay for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, a month. But yeah, it's like, okay, but at a time, you ain't got to go home, but you can't stay here. Get out.
Right.
This was not supposed to be.
Yeah, because the thing is, I think when the Atlantis fell, a lot of people were trapped here. Mm-hmm. So when the next shift is going to take place, they already positioned themselves to lift up those people.
Right.
They're positioned to lift up those people. And some of us who survived the Atlantis, we're here to actually help humanity rise.
Mm-hmm.
That's why some came this time to help the humanity rise.
And I'm gonna be honest,
or to help their own people, their family that didn't make it.
Right. And here's the thing. I believe that once everything gets, put back to where it needs to be or better, we had to go through this, because now we're like, oh my gosh, we can never, ever, ever, ever let this happen again. Absolutely. And next time we get somebody that brain is too big for their heads and they decide they want to start messing around with genetics and start creating things, they need to get God. No. Not doing this again.
Yeah, because it went back to Yakub, right? Yakub, that was in the Bible. It went back because,
and even before that, I think who was talking to us about that? And it's not the first time I heard that too. Nova was talking about Icky and Emil.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And Emil, Aleo. I always mispronounce their names, but yeah. And then I said, why did they do that? Why? Well, the one, Emil, I think Emil. And I said, why did he do that? He said, because he was smart, because he was brilliant, and because he could. So
Mhm.
even though they say, oh, you women, you created this. No, we didn't. We didn't need to create anything because we were already creators. So we didn't need to go into no Caucasus Mountains and create anything. We knew how to create birthing stuff out of our body with or without a man. So we didn't
Yeah,
need
but
to.
it was I think it was an experiment for him. He wanted to see how the light skin or something like that. I can't remember what I read. He was just trying things out to see. But then experiment went wrong.
Okay, so if we get another Anil 2.0, he's gonna have to get got. Don't go over there trying to look at what can be what. No, because this is the hell what happened. No.
And about it, it's not just creating like the way we were created. It was mixing with animals. Yuck.
Right.
They were mixed with animals. Right. That's why they have hair that they have, because that's why their resources from monkey, right? Resource monkey.
But those same creative beings, what do you think they was doing down in those tunnels? They was doing the same thing. Because they were saying when they started flooding these tunnels, they were saying there was creatures that was half human, half something else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They tried to recreate and do the same thing.
Yeah.
My thing, no. Because anytime you try to create something that's not natural, it never works out. It never works out.
Exactly. That's why the world that we're in will never work out, because everything they're doing is unnatural. Yeah, everything they're trying to do is unnatural. And that's why nature has to, come in and just put a stop to it.
And I'm like, no, women didn't do that. We didn't have a need to do that. We knew how to create. We know how to bring a life into this world. We didn't have to go experimenting with anything. We wanted a baby with or without a man. We already knew how to do it. So come over here talking about, oh, you're women. And I'm like, I'm so tired of people saying you women. This is stop.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, okay, like it go both ways now.
It goes right. It takes two.
It takes two. Like y'all waiting on us, we waiting on y'all. So what we gonna do? Period.
It's like, okay, right. It's like you guys got the physical acuity to stop it physically.
Right.
Then we and do the whole law thing. Like what? So you want us to stop it and fight too? Like, come on. Like we gotta do everything? Like, so while we're doing everything, what are you doing? Because if it gets to that point, then why are you here? Because everybody's got a part to play. Stop the blame game. Get on your position. Because if anybody knows the game of chess, it's only when you steal the queen did you win the game, and it's checkmate. Only when you steal the queen, especially more specifically, you get the black queen. No. It's like, look, that's why the knights are there and the rooks are there, and and the king is there. You're supposed to protect the queen. Get in here in front of the queen. Protect the queen. Guard the queen. Because I'm going to tell you like I know. The Albion man knows his woman is crazy as that shit. Here's the language that she is. He knows that. He knows she wants cancer to protect. She ain't right. But notice how they still get on code to protect her even when she's wrong.
Right.
Notice that. She could be doing everything jacked up under the sun, but he will still get on code to protect her. I can say our men can take a page out of the playbook. Okay, some of us don't act right. Okay. All right. Yeah, we know we got things, but we are where we are because we're living in the belly of the deep.
Right.
But notice how they still see our code to protect their women. Our men can do the same.
Yeah.
They can do the same, even when we're not acting right. Get us right.
Yeah, because all those immunizations that they've given us to make us be controllable, all the food that have been tampered with, it's there's a whole bunch of stuff that has gotten us here because they've been at it for a long time. All I can say is the internet exposed when the internet came, it just exposed a whole lot of things. I mean, look at now in different, like I'm in different parts of the globe and we can talk. Whereas before, that's not possible.
Right.
And all
Absolutely.
the information that we didn't know before, now we can just, go online and there it is. Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Now we can keep in touch, and now we can, we have that ability now to say, hey, what's going on? What do you need? Or even if you just want to talk or whatever, where we wouldn't have had that before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Think about it, because now I could have been here talking about, I know we got a lot to do. I wish there was somebody else. But then you're like, oh, but you're doing that too. Hey, what's your idea? Really? That's a good idea. Let me tell you what I got. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
now there's like a connection going. It's like, so even though we're in different parts, of the country or whatever, now we can share ideas with one another.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I'm just happy that, I'm alive to see history unfolding.
Yes.
So, like my generation, we've seen a lot of things. So to be alive is, it's just amazing. It's awesome at this time.
It is.
It is interesting to be.
What is it? This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Isn't that the song by what's it called? The 5 degrees or something degrees? I don't know. The fifth dimension. The fifth dimension. That's the name of the group. And and this is where we are, where we're in the age of Aquarius, and the Earth is headed somewhere.
Yeah.
Take with her who she will, whether you're ready or not.
Look at how 2021 began. Oh my gosh! Just if I immediately after what happened at the end of 2019, the conjunction. I've been like
I took a picture of that.
Yeah.
I took a picture. I have a picture with the sun was going down, the moon was going up, and I have Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter. Yeah, I have like the sun, the moon, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury. I'm like, I better take a picture of this, because I don't know when this is ever going to happen again. Holy crap. Holy crap. I'm like, holy crap. And I took a picture, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, something is about to pop off, because I said the only planet, because it was too far, was Uranus and Pluto, because we're on Earth. So I had all the other planets besides the 2 furthest planets, which is Pluto and Uranus. Couldn't get those because they weren't in alignment. But other than that, I got everything. It's like literally the sun, moon, and stars. And I was like, I need to make this into a picture just so I know we are headed towards somewhere that, I was like very fortunate to catch at the time. And I wasn't even looking for it. I just happened to look up, and I was like, wait, what's that? It looks like a really bright star, and that looks like a bright star, and that looks like a red star. I'm like, I think that's Mars. That's one of my ruling planets. Let me see what's going on up there. And then as I got my camera out, my Skyview camera, I was like, holy moly. That's when I saw the other planets lined up. I was like, whoa. I was like, whoa, okay. This is good. So we're headed towards something. It's good. It's going to be birthing pains, but it's going to be good once it's all said and done. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry. I'm hopeful for us, guys. I really am.
I am as well.
Yeah, I am as well.
I'm very happy for where we're going. So right now, even though we got our thing, each of us has got our thing is gonna pass, and we're gonna come out.
Like they say, and these too shall pass.
And this too shall pass. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be good. So
absolutely. And also is looking I was reading something today. I gotta look more into that. I really don't want to bring it up, but I think I was watching a video, but it was something about Bitcoin. potentially has something to do with the Nasara. I'm going to put it in the chat for y'all to take a look at, but it's actually a video. Something about the Bitcoin has something to do with Nasara, but just to keep in mind, right now, you
And I
know,
think
it's
there's XRP as well.
XRP. Yeah. Yep. I was going to say you want to.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you're saying that because there was a sister who's I think she's an software engineer. I think she was on Magic 363. Aquarius Maximus, that's her name. She said that XRP, people should not be buying XRP because it's highly centralized. The people that created it are the ones that are holding, you know, like over like more than 50% of it. So, and then she said, you know, people shouldn't really be buying XRP. And because she herself had created, she has created a coin for our community, Guap. I think it's Guap or something.
Guap
Yeah,
coin.
Guap coin. Yeah. So it's interesting you're saying that.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you guys the video. You know, I'm just taking information from different ones, and you just want to have a diversified portfolio at this point, you know.
Correct.
Of course, with your physical gold and silver, and then just try to be diversified as possible. So there's actually, you know, quite a few coins that I've already pretty much gone over with you guys. Just sending out a reminder. So XRP is definitely one of them. Ethereum is being said is going to outdo Bitcoin or
yeah, they said, yeah, I heard that too. Ethereum is going to outdo Bitcoin.
Also we want to look into Litecoin, as well as
I have Litecoin. I have Litecoin, but I need to buy some more.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, especially
buy some more.
Everything.
That's the first coin. You know, when I came to Belize, my neighbor who's from Hawaii, he was the one that set me up with a wallet. So when he set it up, he sent just little bit of Litecoin. You know, so so I'm not. I mean, I've been watching it. It's been growing. I haven't looked at it for a long time, so I'm going to check how it's doing right now, and then I just want to buy some more on top of that. He set up my Exodus wallet,
and I just watch it. And then when it goes up, when it goes down, I'll be crying like a baby. But when it goes up, I'm like, yay!
Absolutely.
The other coin that was recommended was Dash.
Dash. Okay.
Yeah, Dash.
I'll have to look into that. I used to own Dash a while ago, but I'll have to look into that more.
You guys, can I read you something before we log off? And it's about the woman.
Absolutely. Please, Mother, do.
Let me just read us something just before we sign off, because this is like so perfect for what we're talking about.
Okay.
It says, what and who a woman is, and what she knows, and what she thinks, and how she feels, and what she eats, her temperament, the planetary alignments and energies in the solar system, combined with the forces of nature, are her master building tools. She must be aware of these fundamental natural truths, as they will function positively or negatively, depending on the element and condition. The science, the dogmatic belief system. If she has been enslaved, mistaught, or subjugated, she must be freed and taught by those who know. If those who know do not assist her in her resurrection, then the laws of reciprocity and compensation will manifest with a vengeance through nature's mandate. This is called justice, the two-edged sword. That comes from isonomy, because he's basically saying everything comes from, start with, ends with the woman.
Woman, right.
Saying how a lot of these so-called people who know what's going on, they know this principle. So they'll give us, he said they'll give us patriarchal Bibles and stuff like that, while underneath they worship literally the mother and the child,
right,
the woman,
right.
the woman. So they said that these powers in organic beings know the power of the womb. So when our women are ending up missing 67,000 of them per year and nobody says anything because, you know, they don't, you know, seem like they recognize it, recognize that they are going after the womb, and more specifically the womb of the melanated woman. So, you know, because they know the power of the womb, you know. So that's why I'm like, our men, look, when you hear that we're missing, go get us. When we've been suffocated, come after us. If we've been enslaved, help us. Because like it says, if you know what to do and you don't, reciprocity is going to turn around. And when it hits you, it's going to hit you hard. You're going to get got. and we're going to know.
Mother Wilson put in the chat, they only report on Becky's.
Right, and her barren womb. They don't want Becky in her barren womb. She can't even get kids. Right. So our women are the ones that, you know, they put them in the front, but these inorganic beings know the power of the melanated womb, and they know that for all life comes through. So when I see our men not really inquiring about where we are, I'm like, guys, why do you think they are kidnapping our women? You know, they want the womb. And I heard that that's what they've been doing. They've been taking the wombs out of melanated women because they hold children and putting them into men. Oh, I can't. I'm like, okay, no. So these men want to replace us. They literally want to replace us. I'm like, oh no, we cannot be replaced. Mother Nature knows who's natural and who isn't. She knows a fake when she sees one. So that's what I wanted to read, just to give us, you know, encouragement. Like it all goes through us, the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's all about us. It always has been.
Okay. Thank you, Mother, for that. And if you can put that in our Telegram chat for us, maybe take a picture of it or whatnot. I would love to have that for myself.
Sure. Let me see if I could.
You don't have to do it right now, just when you get a chance. But that was definitely needed for us. We need that as a reminder, and I'm grateful for that from you. So appreciate that. Just kind word. Well, ladies, we have went well over time, but it's absolutely great. I'm happy for that. I'm glad we, you know, are coming together and having these meetings every time. So tomorrow we will have meditation for an hour at 6 p.m. So I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow for meditation, community meditation. And if you're listening on YouTube, please visit our website, freedomriders.org. The link will be in the description area of the video. If you would like to know how we are working together to build wealth, generate wealth with cryptocurrency, as well as we're accumulating silver and gold, and with the opportunities that we use, it also helps us all to generate extra cash flow for ourselves. So we're growing that in the process of what we're doing here to help every individual that's in our community start creating streams of income for themselves. So with that being said, ladies, I thank you all for
I just add something, Mother. The other thing another opportunity that I'm aware of is the unpassive. They have, I think it's a very good opportunity for us, especially, you know, our people, because what is being done is having